how do I get an AI to stop outputting slop, vanilla and generic? Work with an AI to improve your output. Well, how do I find the time to do that? By automating the things that don't require such a high quality. The grindy things that you just find yourself doing, oh, I've got to do this thing again. Most people automate using AI. So how can I get an AI to do the things that I already do? And that is absolutely valuable. The thing is that automation in and of itself is not necessarily what you want to do. So, for example, if you're a musician and you enjoy making music, do you actually want an AI to do the things that you enjoy? Probably not. You want to keep doing those things. But also, at this stage, all of the AIs I use just simply aren't good enough to do some of the things. I mean, I have heard of people who are automating some things that you might not think they can do. But then when I look at the output that they are creating with it, to me, it's not good enough. Don't be surprised if at this stage you do get a bland and generic output, because it's actually very hard to get an AI to do something that really does sound like you. Now, again, everything I'm saying about automation right now, I'm not saying this is the way that it will always be. I'm talking today. Things may change in the future. I'm just talking about right now. But aside from all that, even though automation has problems, and also even though it can be very helpful, for me anyway, it's not my default way of using AI at all. The way that I use AI, more than anything else, is to augment myself, to make what I am doing better, to actually create higher quality. For example, I spent 2 hours yesterday with Claude, Opus 4, going back and forth about a headline to a sales page that I'm writing. And it was one of the most incredible, stimulating conversations about marketing copy. Yes, it is possible to have one of those. Okay. But it was one of the most, it was really an amazing conversation. And I think we came up with some variations that were absolutely great, like amongst the best I've ever written. And when I say we, I do mean we. So I was having a conversation with it as if it was a human, a person. So I can create higher quality through the interaction with an AI by asking it a question, it returning something, me reading through the output and saying, okay, that's not right. How about this? Or how about updating that? Yeah. So I'm curating the output and then responding with that feedback, and then it responds back. And so, I mean, it's just like a conversation with a human being. In the same way, I can think more critically. I can improve my ideas. I can have new insights in this back and forth with AI, because you've got access to a thing that has been trained on everything on the internet. And obviously, you don't know everything. I don't know everything on the internet. So it's an incredibly valuable tool for you actually upgrading your knowledge. The other thing that you can do with AI, which is absolutely huge, is get it to recognize patterns in your behavior. Each of us are uniquely good at very, very specific things in a very specific constellation. So if you think of your brain as being neuroplastic, so it changes according to how you think, and every single experience that you've had will change your brain in some way. With that in mind, how many people on the earth have had exactly the same, who have ever lived, have had exactly the same experiences as you in exactly the same order? Precisely zero. Therefore, your brain is unique. Therefore, you are unique in some way. There's never been anyone exactly the same as you. And what an ongoing conversation with an AI can do is it can actually get you to understand more about yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your likes, your dislikes, the struggles that you've had, the wonderful times that you've had. You can really start to build up a kind of picture of who you are, uniquely and what you are uniquely able to do uniquely well. Because an AI, an LLM, is essentially a pattern recognizer. I mean, that's how it works. All of these numbers are essentially it recognizing patterns, relationships between concepts and words. So if you think of an AI as being the ultimate pattern recognition tool and you're speaking to it over time, then you can get it over time by keeping a file updated of what I call your unique genius. Now, I'm not saying you are a genius because I don't think there is such a thing. We all have a unique genius, which is what I've already said, the unique constellation of your strengths and weaknesses. So in my conception of what a genius is, it includes your strengths, it includes your weaknesses, it includes the things that you struggle with, it includes the things that you absolutely love to do. So by actually asking the AI what it notices from a conversation, I did it yesterday with this conversation with Claude about this headline on a sales page. I actually said, what do you notice about me? Strengths, weaknesses, what I tend to default to, blind spots. So I am definitely talking about the negative side as well, but also what do I seem to be good at? It gives me a bullet point, this, that, and the other. And then I curate that and I say, well, I'm not sure about this. Why did you say that? That's interesting. I've never thought of that before. And then I put that into a project file, a text file, and then I upload that file into future LLMs and I keep that updated. It's what I call my genius file. And that is something that I'm doing because now the LLM understands, weird word to say about these machines, but anyway, let's just say understands something about me in every conversation. It's over time improving my interactions with AI. And this becomes a kind of multiplication effect so that I can start doing stuff that is aligned with who I am and what I want and where I want to go. And I can stop doing and do less of the stuff that isn't aligned with who I am and what I want. Now, on the Substack, there's actually a full article about this genius file. So you can go and take a look at there if you want to start doing that yourself. But I've found it incredibly valuable to do that. So that's the augment part. Now, in terms of automating, what I tend to do with automation isn't my actual output. So I've tried to get it to write emails, list emails. It just doesn't do it very well. It just doesn't sound like me. And when it does, I end up editing it into oblivion. So I might as well just write it myself at this point. And I have tried multiple different prompting strategies. But at this point, I don't use it for anything that is public facing. The second thing is that I automate things that requires little thought. It doesn't matter if it gets it wrong. I also automate stuff that doesn't have to be unique. It doesn't have to express who I am. The main thing I do use automation for is what isn't aligned with who I am. This is all playing into the genius file thing, but which I must do anyway. So with Claude 4, one of the things that I did was I asked it to help me sort out my disastrous dumpster fire of an email inbox. And it gave me all of these advanced filters that basically now I checked it yesterday and there was like 2 emails in there, whereas usually there would have been like 65, which will save me loads of time, obviously, because checking email isn't something that's aligned with me. And then the final way that at this point is absolutely essential is audit. Now, I know audit isn't a very nice word, but it's absolutely essential that when you are using AI, because of what I said about how it does not deliver truth. It only happens to be true. It can't be accurate on purpose. It only happens to be accurate. So you've got true and accurate as one circle, and you've got coherent as the other circle. Those 2 circles intersect. So you can have something that is true and not coherent, because there's a lot of stuff in the world that is true and not coherent. And you can have stuff that is coherent but not true. For example, when it tells you what you want to hear about how you're, the greatest human being to have ever walked the earth, if you want to hear that, of course. Yeah, so that is coherent, but it's unlikely to be true because I don't think there is such a thing. Okay. But it is coherent if that's what you want to hear. What we want to get is the stuff that is coherent and true. Okay. So how do we do that? Well, by actually auditing every single output. And I know this can be a lot of work, but do you know what? Everybody is freaking out about how AI is going to create cognitive decline in human beings. Just like online, the internet has created a problem of people not being able to focus and do deep work. Well, similarly, people are worried, and I'm sure it's true because of the way the brain works. I'm worried about it creating the situation of cognitive decline where people are automating everything, so they just don't do anything. So we end up in a Wall-E situation of everybody like floating around on sofas, just getting the kind of AI-generated slop going into their heads. If you audit every single AI output, so you make it an absolute rule, I am going to read what it spits out at me, and I am going to question it when I'm not sure about it. I'm questioning it when I don't understand. What is that doing? It's doing the opposite, isn't it? It's creating a situation where you're not in cognitive decline. You're actually growing your mind because you're becoming this expert sort of editor, somebody who is able to actually critically think about what an entity, somebody else, something else is telling you. The other thing I audit is how I'm actually prompting AI. So if I'm automating something, I will usually use an AI as a partner to help me actually prompt better. And also I'm asking it how to improve how I'm working with it. Use the AI to improve how you're using AI. The other thing I'm doing is I'm auditing what I'm creating, coaching and training. So for example, I will put the transcript of this anonymized into an AI and I will ask it for feedback. What did you notice? What did I do well? What did I do badly? Where could I improve? What were the problems? I'm also asking it to check things that I write and the stuff that I make. And of course, I'm also getting it to audit my progress and my plans. So my approach, augment, automate, and audit. It's a much more complete approach than simply thinking about how am I going to do the same crap faster. What's interesting in augment is that it's almost like the opposite of automate, because I spent a very, very long time yesterday working on just a very short piece of copy, which is the headline of a sales page. The reason I did that, though, is because a headline really can make all of the difference. And it was worth it because what I came out with was much, much better than what I would have come out with on my own. How do I get an AI to stop outputting slop, vanilla and generic? Work with an AI to improve your output. It might take slightly longer, but you'll get something much better out of it. And well, how do I find the time to do that? By automating the things that don't require such a high quality. The grindy things that you just find yourself doing, oh, I've got to do this thing again.